There is a moment in life when a person must make a powerful decision to stop chasing what refuses to recognize their value. Many people spend years running behind attention, approval, love, and acceptance from those who only offer them uncertainty. They believe that if they try harder, give more, explain more, and prove their loyalty, they will finally receive the respect they desire. But the laws of human behavior reveal a different truth. The more desperately you chase something, the more power you surrender. When you constantly pursue someone who does not appreciate your presence, you silently communicate that they can receive your energy without earning it. You teach them that your attention is unlimited and your patience has no boundaries. Intelligent people understand that value is often recognized through scarcity. What is always available is often taken for granted. What can disappear creates curiosity. The moment you stop chasing, the entire dynamic begins to change. The moment you stop chasing, you begin the process of taking your power back. Many people do not realize how much control they surrender when they constantly seek someone's attention, approval, or affection. Chasing creates an invisible imbalance where one person becomes the pursuer and the other becomes the one who decides whether to give or withhold. Over time, the person who is chasing begins to measure their own worth through another person's responses. A delayed message creates anxiety, a lack of attention creates insecurity, and every small sign of distance feels like a personal rejection. This emotional dependence gives another person influence over your peace. Intelligent people understand that the first step toward power is breaking this pattern. They recognize that their value does not increase because someone chooses them, and their value does not decrease because someone ignores them. Their worth exists before anyone's approval. When you stop chasing, you change the entire dynamic. You no longer communicate desperation or fear of losing someone. Instead, you communicate confidence, independence, and self-respect. People naturally pay attention to those who are comfortable standing alone because independence creates a different kind of presence. A person who does not need constant validation becomes harder to manipulate and easier to respect. This does not mean you stop caring about people or relationships. It means you stop sacrificing yourself to maintain connections that are not balanced. The smartest individuals understand that attention is valuable and should be given wisely. They do not waste their energy trying to convince someone to appreciate them. They allow people to make their own choices while they focus on improving their own lives. When you redirect your energy from chasing others toward developing yourself, everything begins to change. Your confidence grows, your goals become clearer, and your emotional stability becomes stronger. The person who once controlled your emotions loses that power because you are no longer waiting for them to decide your value. You have already decided it for yourself. Stopping the chase is not about losing someone. It is about finding yourself again. It is the moment when you realize that your peace, dignity, and self-respect are more important than receiving attention from someone who does not recognize your importance. True power begins when you no longer need to run after what was never willing to meet you halfway. Human nature often follows a simple psychological principle. People tend to recognize the value of something more clearly when they no longer have unlimited access to it. When someone is always available, always responding, always giving, and always making efforts, their presence can slowly become something others expect rather than appreciate. This is not because the person lacks value, but because constant availability removes the opportunity for others to understand what they truly provide. Intelligent people recognize this pattern and learn that their presence should never be treated as something that can be taken for granted. They understand that value is often connected to respect, and respect grows when people understand that access to you is not automatic. Many individuals make the mistake of believing that giving more will make someone appreciate them more. They offer endless attention endless patience and endless chances, hoping their effort will finally be recognized. However, when someone receives everything without making any effort in return, they may stop seeing it as a gift and start seeing it as an expectation. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where one person constantly gives while the other simply receives. The wise individual breaks this cycle by stepping back and allowing space to exist. This space is not created out of anger or revenge. It is created to restore balance. When you become less available to people who never valued your presence, you give them the opportunity to experience life without the support they once received. They begin to notice the difference between having your energy and having your absence. The conversations, encouragement, kindness, and loyalty they once received freely are no longer guaranteed. This change often creates reflection because people sometimes understand importance only after something familiar is no longer within reach. Smart people do not remove themselves to manipulate others into chasing them. They step away because their time and energy have meaning. They understand that genuine connections are built through mutual effort, not one person constantly proving their worth. When you stop making yourself endlessly available, you create a healthier relationship with yourself and with others. You teach people that your presence is valuable and that respect is the foundation required for any meaningful connection. The person who truly appreciates you will recognize your value, while those who only benefited from your availability will reveal their true intentions through their reaction. Detachment is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships because it changes the way people perceive your presence. When you are constantly seeking someone's attention, approval, or reassurance, your energy communicates dependence. Even if your intentions are pure, the other person may begin to feel that they have complete control over your emotions. Intelligent people understand that the strongest position is not the one where you try to hold on to someone at all costs. It is the position where you are willing to let go while maintaining your dignity. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you care without losing yourself. You can value someone's presence while still understanding that your own peace cannot depend on their actions. When you create emotional distance from someone who does not appreciate you, something changes in the balance of power. The constant pursuit disappears, and with it disappears the sense of certainty the other person once had. They can no longer assume that you will always be there, always respond, or always forgive without limits. This creates curiosity because human beings naturally pay attention to what they cannot easily predict. A person who once felt completely secure in having your attention may begin to question why your behavior has changed. They may wonder what caused your confidence, your silence, and your ability to move forward without seeking their approval. The wise individual understands that curiosity is not the goal. Self-respect is. They do not detach to create a reaction from others. They detach because they have realized their emotional energy deserves protection. Their focus shifts from controlling someone else's feelings to mastering their own. This inner control creates a presence that cannot be easily ignored. People are naturally drawn toward those who possess confidence, independence, and emotional stability. The greatest transformation happens when you no longer need someone to recognize your value before you recognize it yourself. Your confidence stops depending on messages, compliments, or attention. You become complete within your own identity. At that point, your relationships improve because you are no longer approaching others from a place of need. You are approaching them from a place of choice. Detachment gives you the freedom to connect with people without fear, to love without desperation, and to walk away without losing yourself. One of the most important lessons in human behavior is understanding that attention should never be begged for. When someone truly values your presence, they do not require endless reminders of your importance. Respect, care, and appreciation are not things that should be forced through constant effort. Many people lose themselves trying to convince someone to notice them, love them, or choose them. They send more messages, make more sacrifices, and ignore their own needs because they believe greater effort will eventually create greater appreciation. However, intelligent people understand that forced attention is not genuine connection. When someone has to be constantly convinced to value you, the relationship has already lost its balance. Begging for attention places you in a position where your happiness depends on another person's willingness to provide what should naturally exist. It creates a situation where you are always proving your worth instead of simply being recognized for it. Smart individuals understand that their value does not come from how much they can do for someone else. Their value comes from their character, their principles, and the way they carry themselves. They refuse to compete for a place in someone's life because they know that real appreciation cannot be won through desperation. A person who respects themselves knows the difference between effort and chasing. Effort is mutual, healthy, and built on understanding. Chasing is one-sided, exhausting, and often driven by fear of losing someone. When you stop begging for attention, you send a powerful message. Your presence is a privilege, not a requirement. You are willing to give love, support, and loyalty, but you will not sacrifice your dignity to receive basic respect. This mindset changes the way others see you because confidence attracts more respect than desperation ever could. People often recognize the importance of someone when they see that person no longer seeking validation. The strongest individuals are not those who demand attention. They are those who become so secure within themselves that they no longer need to ask for it. They allow people to choose them freely because anything that must be begged for was never truly valuable in the first place. Your absence is one of the clearest ways to reveal your true value because people often understand the importance of something only when they no longer have constant access to it. When you are always present, always available, and always offering your energy, some people maybe become blind to the effort behind your presence. They become familiar with your kindness, your support, and your loyalty without recognizing that these qualities are not guaranteed. Smart people understand that stepping away is not about creating pain for others. It is about allowing reality to speak when words have failed. Sometimes your absence communicates what your explanations never could. When you remove yourself from situations where you are not appreciated, you create a space where others can finally recognize what they had. They begin to notice the conversations that no longer happen, the support that is no longer automatically available, and the emotional comfort they once received. This realization can be powerful because people often measure value by the difference between having something and losing access to it. Your absence becomes a mirror that reflects the role you played in their life. However, the greatest purpose of your absence is not to make someone miss you. The greatest purpose is to remind yourself that your identity exists beyond anyone's attention. Many people become trapped in relationships where they constantly prove their worth, hoping someone will eventually see their importance. By stepping back, they rediscover their own strength, confidence, and independence. They realize they were valuable before anyone recognized their value. Intelligent people do not disappear to manipulate others or create unnecessary drama. They step away because they understand that their time and energy deserve respect. They allow people to experience the consequences of taking them for granted while they focus on personal growth. In this process, something important happens. They stop measuring their happiness by someone else's reaction. When your absence reveals your value, it is not because you became someone different. It is because others finally recognize what was already there. Your worth was never created by their attention, and it cannot be destroyed by their neglect. The person who understands this becomes powerful because they no longer need to chase recognition. They simply live with confidence knowing that those who truly appreciate them will never require their absence to understand their importance. The greatest victory in life is becoming unavailable to manipulation. Many people spend years allowing others to control their emotions, decisions, and sense of worth without realizing the power they have surrendered. A toxic person gains influence when they can predict your reactions, trigger your insecurities, and convince you to act according to their expectations. The moment you become emotionally independent, their control begins to disappear. Smart people understand that true strength is not about controlling others, it is about mastering themselves. They learn to manage their emotions, protect their peace, and make decisions based on their own values instead of someone else's approval. A person who is easily manipulated often reacts without thinking. They answer every accusation, defend every choice, and seek approval from those who constantly question them. This creates a cycle where the manipulator remains powerful because they know exactly how to provoke a response. Intelligent people break this cycle by becoming more aware of their emotions. They pause before reacting, observe patterns, and choose responses that serve their long-term goals rather than temporary feelings. This self-control makes them difficult to influence because manipulation depends on emotional weakness. When you stop allowing others to determine your mood, your confidence, or your direction, you reclaim ownership of your life. You no longer need to prove yourself to someone who refuses to understand you. You no longer feel pressured to explain every decision or justify your boundaries. Your actions become guided by wisdom instead of fear. This creates a level of freedom that toxic individuals cannot easily understand because they are used to gaining power through emotional reactions. The most powerful people are not those who win every argument or defeat every enemy. They are the ones who become so secure within themselves that outside attempts to disturb their peace no longer succeed. They understand that attention is a form of energy, and they carefully decide where to invest it. By becoming unavailable to manipulation, they do not lose relationships. They lose the chains that prevented them from growing. Their silence, confidence, and independence become proof that they have taken back the one thing no one should ever control, their own life.